Hello. What I have under this tarp today is a very cool but very outdated piece of mountain bike history from the late 1990s. It uses a piece of technology that's pretty much not found on any other mountain bike today. So I'm very excited to show it to you. Let's get it out from under this tarp and I can show you what I've got. I feel like the lighting here is like super buns, so we're gonna bring this somewhere else. Now, this is a Scott Neva Sport from 1997, and it is in quite a sorry state. That is because I found it outside behind a dumpster. It is looking quite a far bit off from its original $1,700 asking price, which would have gotten you this new in the late 90s. So it's got RockShox suspension front and rear, and it's got Shimano drivetrain all the way around. However, the reason I am saving this bike is definitely not because of any of the components on it, but it is because of this quirky feature right here.
For the 1997 model year, the Scott Neva and Scott Vertigo came with a pivot point between the head tube and the down tube. Called a floating head tube, this would allow the bike to change geometry whilst riding in a way that no other bike could, as no other bike ever had this. However, Scott abandoned the concept shortly after, and it never appeared on any of their bikes or any other brand's bike ever again. I cannot wait to see if we can actually get this part working again and how it will affect the way that the bike rides.
I mean, if you look at what other brands were trying around this time, and even Scott brand themselves, it's not really surprising to see why this may have been tried on a production bike. But as I mentioned earlier, this one is in quite a bad state, and it's also been sitting behind my shed for a couple of months. So let's get this thing cleaned up. Let's get it on a work stand, and we're going to completely tear this thing down, put it back together, and then hopefully throw some nice new parts at it, and we're going to have a beautiful looking time capsule bike. Alrighty, so we've got the bike up on the stand, and I think the best thing we can do here is just kind of tear it apart, get everything off of it, see what's broken, what's going to need replacing, and then we can kind of go from there with cleaning everything up, getting new parts, and then hopefully we'll be able to put this thing back together and it'll look nice and new.
This thing is completely seized.
So I started here by just taking off some of the most basic parts, and surprisingly none of the bolts or nuts really seemed to be seized on this bike, which was very surprising because it was outside for no less than probably 3 years. So that was a very pleasant surprise.
Water just started dripping out of this thing. There we go. Ooh. Ugh. Ew. Yeah, those are some yummy bearings right there. So I tore down the fork even more to see what condition the elastomers were in, and as you can see on the left here, they were completely disintegrated, so those are definitely going to need to be replaced. Oh! My goodness. I'm putting gloves on. Gross.
So here I'm just tapping the rest of that disgusting elastomer out to get the shock cartridge to come out so that we can do a rebuild on that with some fresh fluids.
Oh, finally. Okay, so new elastomers, not even a question. I mean, look at that. It's like a blown up hot dog or something. Ugh. At least it's out. Yeah, I don't own a crank puller, so I'll have to order one of those. I never really thought about getting that.
Okay, with a crank puller ordered on Amazon, we were able to get both the cranks off, although it did take a lot of effort here. We did eventually get them to come off.
And so with that rear coil removed, we can finally start to see how this interesting suspension system kind of works. You can see the top tube pivoting a little bit as I kind of bend the whole frame back here. So it definitely gives a little bit of change to the geometry of the bike, but it's not a huge difference between what just the regular full suspension system gives you. Alright, so here's the bike as it sits right now. It's a big pile of parts, however now that I've taken it apart, I know exactly what it needs to be back up and running. So I think the first order of business is going to be ordering those new elastomers for the shock. And I think in the next video, we're going to focus on doing a whole rebuild on the shock, painting it, getting it looking and feeling nice, and then we're going to rebuild the rest of the bike from there. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and stay subscribed if you want to see this bike get brought back to its former glory.